Hello everybody, this is Kathleen Hinesley with Exploring Dimensions for All, and I'm trying something new today. I have seen other people on other channels channel information live on YouTube videos. What I did is I asked my spirit guides if they had any information to transmit during this time, and I got an answer back. I expected specific concrete details about what was going on the planet at this time, and that's not what I got. What I got was information that may be helpful to some people when they try to preserve emotional balance and function in harmony at this time. So a lot of this information is spiritual and psychological at its root. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and read to you what I got. Some of it you may want to replay if a certain part of it resonates for you. I'm going to be reading, so I may trip over my words a bit or have to repeat, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. So this is from a spirit guide named Jim. If anyone is listening here, what I want to say to them is you have a higher purpose. Whether you are fully in touch with it does not matter. It is the misperception of human beings that they must understand their purpose fully with the mind, and that this purpose must manifest in physical form. Your soul's purpose may involve emotional or etheric realms, and it is not necessary for you to fully understand this purpose for it to be put into motion. What matters most is that you pay attention to allowing the valve in your heart to open so that its precious energy can flow out to the world in all its precious forms. People tend to think of purpose in terms of occupation, and at times such as these, when many are unable to perform habitual duties, they may feel as if they don't matter as much. This is the ego. The ego, or the I self, works with the body to allow the soul's purpose to function, but the soul's purpose is not dependent on this. Because the soul's purpose is at its purest form, the soul's purpose is not dependent on this, because the soul's true purpose in its purest form does not exist within the physical and is not dependent on the physical. The body and the ego, I gotta go to page 1 over here, sorry. Okay. You may have heard it said that people are composed of many parts. And of course, this, like so many other things, is partly true. But for the sake of clarity, we will assume this. Some of these are the body, whose main function is the maintenance of itself in the world of form. It has many other uses, of course, but this is a primary one. Then there is the mind, whose function at a primal level is to organize life for the maintenance of the body. Second, to organize higher level spiritual information in a way that can be understood and utilized. Science, physics, mathematics, biology, and other forms of focus are ways for the mind to do this. There is also something which is disparagingly referred to as the ego, but which actually has a higher function, that of bringing forth creativity into the world. And the creativity I am referring to is not limited to the arts as we think of them now. There is also the emotional body, whose purpose is to realize connection. For an individual to function at its full potential, each part must be allowed to fulfill its function, ideally in its pure state. However, in the material universe, achieving this can be perceived as very difficult, as all parts are integrated and attached. Where politics, religion, and economics, and in any and all situations in which it is possible for the mind and body to perceive a threat are concerned, the sensation of the I self becomes very strong. The I self is typically a blend of mind and ego. We develop opinions to protect this I self. The I self can be loosely understood as what we consider to be our identities in this world. As many people know, when discussing topics such as politics, religion, or current events, people can become very emotional. The body and ego frequently get into a mutually constrained state when they attempt to exert power over others or influence others in an attempt to match their thinking. At such times, there is a temptation to use the emotional body as a force of influence over others. The emotional body does have the ability to connect, but not in this way. Here is the error. The emotional body is a feeler, not a doer. When the emotional body is pushed by the ego and the body to spring into action, it grows limp and falls short because this is outside of its nature. Our thoughts do not have direct access to our emotions, although they may seem to act as a conduit at times. Rather, our ego plays this role. Ego has access to emotions. The I self says, I think this or that about this or that situation, event, etc. The ego relates that to the emotional body, which then produces feelings. At its root, the emotional body wants connection. Its main function is actually to form connections to people, animals, things, ideas, and other aspects of being. To form and maintain connection. When the mind and ego come knocking and say to the emotions, this or that thing, person, or idea means this or that. And then this is my explanation that I wrote down in coordination with checking with my spirit guide to make sure it was okay to use this as an example. So in brackets, my explanation is, for example, the election of this or that person means this or that, or this new law means this or that. Okay. And so when approached by the mind and ego with new information, the emotional body reacts immediately. The emotional body perceives separation from people, events, and things it is told about. To listen to the mind and ego can often be painful for the emotional body. So hurt, anger, vindictiveness, and all sorts of other emotions may be produced. This is because the emotional body only wants connection. Even when the mind and ego perceive something as good, and they feed that information to the emotional body, that information is perceived as separation, and thus as pain. This is because when working together, the mind and ego create a sense of separation. This is one reason why love relationships often become painful. The mind thinks about events and partners with the I self. The mind and ego say to the emotional body, this person is sexy, this person is kind, this person is for me. The emotional body must be allowed to feel on its own to retain its pure state. Otherwise, if it keeps being pestered by the mind and ego state, it will perceive separateness and feel, This person is mean. This person is selfish. This person is not for me. At this time, the various parts of oneself are naturally inclined to become stronger. Because connection is vital, internal connection within oneself is sought. This is by nature a good and fruitful process. But to maintain a purity of heart, using the mind to distinguish and identify the flow of thoughts can help. The ego's job is actually to express creativity. The outward manifestation of creativity, by its nature, requires some individual mental or physical action. In its ideal state, the ego's job is to ignite the force or light the fire needed to spur creative action. When creativity is not expressed, the ego quickly turns to the emotional body for fuel. Many people may have heard or experienced how much easier it seems at times to write a song or a poem or paint a picture when one is angry or sad. You see, the ego pesters the emotional body a lot because it wants to express creativity. During this time, it may help some people to use their minds to create and maintain an awareness of which parts of oneself are being expressed. Is the ego frustrated by a lack of creativity and thus turning to the emotional body for fuel? Have the mind and the ego partnered up to protect the I self, the one sense of identity or individual personality? And the individual personality part is kind of like, that's not a quotation from the Spirit Guide. They use the term one sense of identity and the term I self, and then I used the concept of individual personality, but it's not exact. It's not an exact translation, but it helps me understand it better. Okay, so I'm going to return to the quotations from the Spirit Guide, Jim. So I'm going to go back up a little bit. Have the mind and ego partnered up to protect the I self? And are these attempting to provoke an emotional response in an attempt to influence others to protect the I self? If so, difficult emotions may emerge. This can and does manifest in many ways. None of the selves are bad, but when not manifesting in their natural states, they can lead to great imbalance and painful experiences. Nothing is lost. You can use every thought, feeling, and creative impulse to its fullest advantage at this time and at any time. Much is done internally, underneath the surface of events. The events that occur on this earth matter a great deal less than the vibrations they generate and leave behind. You are part of that vibration. With peace and love, Jim. Okay, so I know well, some of you may have understood that really clearly, and it may have come forth and resonated. For other people, it might not speak to you, or you might want to go back to certain parts and replay them so that you can see if they resonate in the way that you thought that they did. Whatever you need to do is fine. I'm just putting that out there. I've never put out channeled information before, but I felt like it was right to do so today, and I checked with my guides, and Jim came forth with that. So this is not, I don't know anything more other than that this is someone who comes to me in spirit and gives me information, and very often I have to go back over the information myself because these are not lessons that I've mastered. They're not lessons I've ever heard before. So if that was, Greek to you or a little bit difficult to understand, it was also hard for me to understand, and I had to read through it several times myself. So in any case, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel. Hope this was useful and have a wonderful day. Okay, bye.